We let it hang in the bumping of the subway car as we rushed beneath the streets of Côte des Neiges. I couldn't think of a reason not to like it. I said, okay. And if it's a boy? Darla smiled and said, I'll tell you later. She talked about the new apartment all the way out to Acadie. Moving day wasn't until July, so I didn't care yet about furniture or paint. It didn't even occur to me. The closer we got to her uncle's house, the more she talked. So much that it made me worry. We stopped in front of her uncle's place in the town of Mount Royal. They sure thought a lot of themselves there. You could tell by the houses. She warned me again that her uncle was a bit of an attention hog and that he was cheap with his liquor. And she told me that her cousin Misha had prepped the family on who I was, that I was in a band, and the band was doing well, and we were on the edge of making it big. She introduced me to her parents. Her mother, Miron, was this bird-like thing, a big nose and dark eyes. She was skinny with lots of nervous energy. Her ass didn't look bad for her age, which I thought was a good sign. She let me kiss her on each cheek. She smiled with her mouth, but her eyes were watchful. Her father, Nico, was bigger than I expected. Not too tall, but thick through the body. Strength that looked like it was half genetics and half physical labor. He was balding with a kind of a stooped-backed oafishness in his posture, and a surly face. He shook my hand and then walked away and ignored me like I was just another of her boyfriends. I went into the living room with the men. Misha introduced me around. I liked the Greek guys. They knew how to play the ignoring game. The less you paid attention to them, the less they paid attention to you, until they decided to see if you were for real or not. Then they'd get right up in your face. I could handle that. My cool was solid. Uncle Tasso got out a bottle of 12-year-old Chivas. Of course, he'd be drinking Chivas. He couldn't be more cliche if he tried. Darla's cousin Johnny said, "Look who's the big shot all of a sudden." And they all must have been thinking of it because they piled on Tasso about how the liquor flowed like mud at his place. But once they said that, he couldn't put the bottle away, so he waved his hand magnanimously, and we all went to fill and then refill our glasses. I watched him as I drank. His eyes never left the bottle as it was pouring. We stood around in the living room. As the liquor disappeared, the men got louder. They swaggered a bit more. Darla's father didn't seem to like me too much, so I ignored him and I palled around with Tasso. That seemed to bother him. I wanted to be careful, though. Nico had a fat gut, but he had big, veiny Popeye forearms. And the hand without a glass in it had a curl to its hang that didn't look far from a fist. The women were in the kitchen. At a certain point, I heard the tone change in there, and I knew Darla must have spilled the beans. I snuck another peek at her father. He didn't seem like too bright a bulb. Looked a bit drunk. Darla came out of the kitchen and stood by the entrance to the living room, at the top of the stairs that came up from the split-levels front door. Her mother was beside her, looking anxious. I should have known something was up. I should have understood Darla's anxiety. I should have been standing over there with her. But I was enjoying the status I had in the male enclave. "Shut up for a second," she said to the room of men. "I got something to tell you. I got an announcement." There was some grousing from the uncles and cousins, amplified by the mid-afternoon scotches. "So you've met Ethan?" Uncle Tasso jumped in to get his share of the spotlight, holding up devil horns. He said, "Rock and roller!" Yes, well, we have some news. The aunts had come into the living room and were standing behind us. I could feel them holding their collective breath. "We're going to have a baby!" The aunts clapped and yahooed. There was even some ululating. The men started slapping me on the arm. Tasso was trying to shake my hand. I was looking at Darla's father. He was staring hard at her, and Darla was staring back at him. She was trying to put on a smile, but I saw her lip tremble. Her father saw it too. He seemed to feed on it. He put down his glass, walked towards her. Her mother must have seen something she recognized, because she stepped in front of her daughter. He shoved his wife out of the way, and he shouted in Greek. From the tone, I'd say it was something like "slut." Darla reached to help her mother or to cling to her, and her father turned on Darla and he shoved her down the stairs. It happened so fast. I should have known it was there the whole time, like something rancid in the room. A huge fight broke out. I jumped on her father, put him in a headlock. That was the second time I touched him. The last was when I landed the 4th or 5th punch on his temple. It was crazy. Everyone was shouting. Everyone was swinging at everyone else. Nico's big paw was clawing at my face. Women were screaming. Someone was shouting, "Don't move her! Don't move her!" I ripped away from her father. I fought my way down the stairs. Darla's mother wouldn't let anyone near. When I tried to get in, she pushed me away with a bony forearm. She crouched protectively over her daughter. Darla was laying in a twisted pile on the tile floor. I think back on that day and my own selfishness, my preoccupations. How could such brittle inconsequentiality make me such a fool? In that moment, all I wanted was for her to be okay. I knew, perhaps for the first time, that no matter what was going to happen to us, I was in. Thank you. Thank you. If I may, I would like to thank Lori and the QWF. This mentorship program is one of the most wonderful things that's ever happened to me writing-wise. But we work so long and so hard by ourselves, and when you have someone like my brother Danielle and Cox bringing you through it, giving you little pushes in the right direction, it's absolutely wonderful. Please, will you help me thank Lori and my brother Daniel.